everybody, happy Thursday. I hope everybody's doing great today. Today I'm going to answer a question that I actually get asked very often through my years as a college counselor. This has been an ongoing question. And the question is, does it make sense to visit college campuses in the summer or other times when the campus might be closed, like on winter breaks or other things like that? So let's dig into that a little bit. So obviously, if you can get to a college campus when life is happening and students are around, you're going to get much more of a feel for the place. That's just the truth of the matter. I think it especially matters much more at smaller sized and mid-sized schools where if they are truly closed, there literally might not be any students on campus to see, period. Bigger state universities often have so many things happening over the summer that you are still going to see students milling about, maybe not on winter break for the holidays. There will be students who are living there, but they're not going to necessarily be milling about taking classes and things like that. But if you want to really feel the student life, see students in action, get the vibe of the campus from that activity, it really does make more sense to go when colleges are open. However, I also understand that we are busy people and you have lots of things going on, and just getting your child out of school and willing to get on the road to go visit colleges may not happen unless there is a break from school. And I do understand that there are times when it is hard for them to miss too much of what's going on. So if the only time you can do these things is in the summer or on a break when campus is closed, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. There are other ways to get even more in-depth information about a place. And so here, in general, let me talk about what you're looking for when you're going on these college visits, because I think that will help also how you approach it, whether school's open or closed. Either way, if you can still do an official admissions tour and information session, you absolutely should do those two things. For one, that means your student registers in the Office of Admission, shows that they've been on campus to participate in that kind of activity. The other thing it does is it does give the sales pitch. I will admit it is a sales pitch. Colleges are trying to entice students to apply, but it does also provide a lot of good background information that is helpful for students to hear. So whether the school is physically open for classes or not, they may still be running their tours and information sessions, and that's a great way to spend some time on the campus when you visit. The other thing, no matter if they're open or not when you visit, you absolutely should take time to explore the town. See what else is happening in and around the campus. Go eat somewhere where likely students hang out, or go eat a meal when they're off campus. Get a cup of coffee. Try to get a sense for what is it like just right there, maybe within walking distance or whatever the most popular sort of area happens to be for students. I think obviously they're going to school for academics, but we can't overlook living and what life is like for them, because that's an important part of this journey for students. And so we want them to have that opportunity to kind of get a sense of that and see what that's like. I also think it's important to grab a copy of the school newspaper. You don't have to read it cover to cover. Most students won't. But take a look at what are the hot button issues that they're talking about. What seems to be the tenor of life on campus right then and there. What's happening? What's got people so engaged that they're writing about it in the school newspaper? I just think that's a good way to also get a sense of the school and of its personality and what they are all about in terms of those kinds of things. In terms of questions to ask on a visit, obviously if you're on a tour, maybe this is not obvious. If you're on a tour, typically that is being led by a student. So if you're in the information session in admissions, that's typically led by a professional admissions representative. So you will have usually two different perspectives if you do both the information session and a tour with a student. What kinds of questions to ask? These run the gamut from everything to how's the food in the dining hall, to what's your most popular major, to what are students doing 6 months after graduation, what's the employment rate, graduate school acceptance rate, those kinds of things. And it will vary, obviously, depending on students and parents. What is important to you to learn when you're on a college visit? I maintain a list of probably 50 different questions. If you'd like to have a copy of that, drop a message in the comments or DM me and I'll get that to you so that you can take a look at what are some of the questions I've compiled over the years that I feel like are important to think about. You certainly don't ask all 50 necessarily on one visit, but it is good maybe as a guidepost to kind of see what else you can think about learning in the process. I think that the other thing that students can do in the absence, if school is closed and y'all are just visiting in the summer and it's quiet, again, walking campus still gives you a feel for the layout of the place. You can still pick up a lot just by seeing it in terms of that. But I also think then students really will need to spend some time digging into the website and doing research in some other ways. Maybe even there is an opportunity to connect with students either virtually or one-on-one virtually if you can't do that in person because the school is closed. There are lots of opportunities out there to make connections, to find out the information that students need when they're making the decision about where to apply. The other thing I always like to remind families of, if you can't get to a campus or you do a visit during sort of a dead period, doesn't mean you don't need to apply. If it still seems like a school that fits most of the boxes, do an application. If the student is admitted and it stays high on the list of options, then go for an admitted student visit. An admitted student visit is very different than just taking a tour and an information session. They're going to really roll out the red carpet, really try to entice students to now enroll because they've been admitted. So you get a very different perspective. I recommend that for a lot of reasons, even if you've been to a campus before, but especially if it's one where you didn't get to be there seeing students in action and those kinds of things. So lots of ways you can tailor a visit also. Then different colleges will handle this differently, but you may be asked if it's a big university, do you want to see a specific school within the university? So are you interested in engineering or nursing or business? And if so, there may be a separate tour specifically designed for that area. The other thing is, the other option is to do a meeting with a professor. Sometimes those are offered to students as well. So if they already have some kind of sense of what they might want to study and feel comfortable doing that, they can certainly make arrangements if the university offers that option in terms of that. I'm reading comments here. Great quote, a great point there, Tricia, that if you can connect with a student, especially from your own high school, that you know who has been at that school, that's another great way to make connections. They come from similar backgrounds. Those are helpful ways to kind of interact and learn more about the school. And again, trying to revisit if you need to when school is open, even after you get that initial impression from just being on campus and those kinds of things. Again, there are lots of ways to approach a college visit and the research process, because it truly is a research process. I wish students would actually engage in it a little bit more. My own son was sometimes like a zombie when we walked around campus, but I learned also what were the things that were going to get him excited. And so we made sure those were the things we also tried to incorporate into every visit, because I think that's important as well, that it resonates with them and their own personal interests. And quite frankly, if it doesn't, you take it off the list, and sometimes that's even better, honestly, being able to say, this one didn't make the cut, because otherwise you could end up with a really long list. So even deciding that a place is not the right fit is a worthwhile visit, in my opinion. So once again, I have a list of questions available. If you'd like them, drop a message in the comments or DM me, so I'm sure that I have your email address and I can send over what we share with students when they're heading out on visits, so you can think of some questions to ask and things like that. And again, not the end of the world if you can't be there when school is open, but it is definitely ideal if you can be there when school is in session and you can see all the students in action. So thanks for the questions. Keep them coming and keep voting on the polls every week so that we know what questions everybody wants to hear the answer to. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care.